Alright, let's find 40 again. Not even close.
We just measured out the corners of our cabin foundation, and what we did is we found the length and the width, and then we used the Pythagorean theorem to find our diagonals, and we measured that out. And now we're going to run a string line all the way around to simulate the outer edges of the foundation so we can measure out where our sonotubes need to be placed. No, it looks like it's pretty tight all the way around.
Yeah, because that bit, when we drill,
We're going to mark all of the stakes with paint in case we accidentally disturb one of the stakes, and to make it easier for Chris to see where he needs to drill from the skid loader. In our location on a record frost year, typically the frost line doesn't go below 5 feet, so we're drilling for our sonotubes to go down to 5 feet to be on the safe side. We're also doing 18-inch sonotubes as opposed to a 12-inch sonotube with an elephant foot foundation at the bottom. While this does cost a little bit more in concrete, it actually will in the long run cost less than having to buy the elephant feet, as well as not having to rent an excavator to be able to put the elephant feet down in the ground. That also means that the soil around the sonotubes is a lot less disturbed because we're only going in with a drill versus excavating the whole ground, which makes it a lot more stable for holding the sonotubes in place. We have 21 holes to drill, so we're going to go ahead and get these painted and get to drilling.
been raining pretty much non-stop, but we got a really nice break in the weather today, and it's supposed to be a nice break for about 4 days. We're hoping that we can knock out the entire project, get it drilled. We won't have to worry about the holes filling up with water, and then we can place all of our sonotube forms in place and pour the concrete. Should give us just enough time for the concrete to cure before we start getting deep freezing levels where it would ruin the concrete. So we're on a time crunch. We're going to try and get it done as quick as possible. We found a big rock. I'm gonna have to go down in and get it. We were able to auger all the holes out in about 2 hours. We hit a few big rocks that we had to stop and dig them out before the auger could get through. This definitely isn't something that you would want to try and do in an area that has really big rocks in the soil. Luckily, most of the rocks that we hit are at 5 feet, which we're not trying to go much below 5 feet. We essentially went as deep as we could. If we had to go deeper than 5 feet, you would definitely need an excavator for sure. We have one hole that I'm gonna have to drill directly beside our other hole that we already made and actually dig out a really big rock that we can't get from up top. We're gonna have to open it up a little bit to get to it. And once we kick that one out of the way, we'll be able to drill that hole the rest. We have about 126 hoops to bend up for the rebar cages in the concrete. We're just using this cheap hand bender. We tried to actually order a nicer one on Amazon. It was on order for like 2 weeks, and then we decided to cancel the order because it was just taking too long. We had to get started on this project, and unfortunately we couldn't find one local. The closest one we could find was in Anchorage, and we really didn't want to make another trip back up there. While I'm making all these hoops for the cages, Katie is working on getting some of them tied. That way we're both able to keep moving along and getting something done. So I just have a piece of tape here on the deck to reference for my measurement for bending these hoops.
I'm finally on 21 of 21 of the rebar cages. It's taken us about 16 hours for all of the rebar. So cutting it, bending it, and getting these cages put together. And we ran into a couple challenges while we were doing this. The first one is we miscalculated how many rebar ties that we needed. So Chris ended up having to run back out and get more ties so we could finish all of the cages. And on top of that, we got these tools on Amazon that when you put them through the tie, when you pull it back, it automatically twists the tie for you to make it go a lot quicker. Well, we bought 2 of them. Both of them broke while we were working on the cages. Luckily, we had this 3rd tool, which it's not an automatic twisting tool, but I'm glad we had it. Unfortunately, that means that only one of us could work on these once Chris was finished cutting the rebar. So it's been a little bit slower. We thought we were both going to be able to work on them. We can definitely not recommend these to anybody because they didn't even make it through 21 cages. But this tool came in, saved the day. I'm gonna go ahead and get this last cage done. Then our cages are ready to be put in the foundation forms. Woohoo! All 21 cages done.
We're putting these 3-inch rebar chairs on the very bottom of these cages to keep them up out of the ground. That way, when we pour the concrete, it seals around the rebar and it has no chance of getting moisture up in there to rot out the rebar and make it rust apart. So it should make them last a lot longer. They're tight fit. It's really solid. It's like stone. Alright, so we're going to tamp all these holes, make sure it's packed tight, and then we're going to put a couple inches of gravel in there. Then we can put our rebar cages down in the holes. Hold on to it. Okay.
These are our 18-inch sonotube concrete forms, and unfortunately we had to go all the way up to Anchorage, which is an 8-hour round trip for us, to pick these up because we couldn't find any locally. So we're gonna go ahead and start getting these cut so we can put them in the holes and start pouring our concrete.
Actually worked pretty good other than right then. So we're cutting up some 2x4s, and what we're going to do is build little boxes to hold those sonotube forms in place, and we'll actually stake into the ground, screw into these, and should hold everything solid while we pour the concrete. Is it still on there?
I mean, it's
Starting to think we should build these forms. Alright, now keep watching it because I gotta level it again. So keep watching it. Let me know if it's wrong.
Right now we're working on building our form boards. We're going to do all 21, and then we're going to go ahead and get them leveled once the sun goes down a little bit and we can see our laser level. Good.
Now where's the laser?
Just at the rim of this.
Let me know when you can see the screw.
Yeah.
Where's this might be pinched too. I'm just trying to get mine to where it's level.
So it looks like this one's going to be... Good morning. It is officially concrete day. Unfortunately, the rain beat us to getting our concrete put in, so the last couple days we had to have our sonotubes covered in plastic to keep them from getting ruined in the rain. But it's time to start concrete. It's a beautiful day today. It's too far to run an extension cord from the RV to the mud mixer, so we have our generator out here to power that. And we have a hose run from our big water cistern to run water through the mud mixer as well. So we have 21 tubes to do, so let's get started.
work the concrete in where you need it.
Morning. We are back out here pouring more concrete today. Last night we got the first row of sonotubes done. It's taking about 35 or so minutes for each tube to fill with concrete, and with that first row it took about 23 bags of concrete per sonotube. As we move across the foundations, the last row, the sonotubes are a little bit taller. We're thinking it's going to take about 30 bags or so of concrete for those tubes, so it'll take a little bit longer to fill. For each sonotube, we are filling them up to the top and then using a concrete vibrator to aerate any bubbles out of the concrete, and that sinks the concrete down about another foot, and then we can add several more bags of concrete into the sonotube, and then we can put in our post brackets.
We're going to keep this light because
So we're in the middle of pouring concrete and Benelli started barking, and we want to show you what he was barking at. I don't know.
pretty good actually. That looks like it's a little high.
It's a little. All of our sonotube foundations are done. We stayed up late last night trying to get them all finished before the rain came in. We knew it was in the forecast, so we were really in crunch time to get them all done. All in all, we used about 40,000 pounds of concrete.
If you missed it in our last video, the foundation's about a 24 by 40 spread, and it's 21 piers that we laid out. After all the concrete forms were set up and everything was ready to pour, it only took about 11 hours of actual mixing and pouring time. the type of concrete mixer that we use really helps speed things up. I think that the hardest part about the whole entire project was actually bending all the rebar and tying it all together. That was the most time consuming, took quite a bit of time. Now the foundations are done, we're ready to move on to the next part of the project.
So thank you for watching, and we will see you again soon.